This is the evening news. In tonight's headlines, President Lord's qualifying for investments. AC unit explodes, causing a fire at the office of the president. And Ituni Road blockers appear in court. I'm Michael Young. Thanks for joining us for your Wednesday, September 4, 2013 edition of the evening news. Now for the news in detail. President Donald Ramattar and Chief Executive Officer of Qualfon, Mike Maru, today turned the sword at the first ever multi-million-dollar call center campus site being constructed in Guyana. Whitney Persaud filed this report.
The new state-of-the-art campus being built in Guyana will bring an estimated 6,000 jobs over the next 5 years. During the first phase of its establishment, a whopping $4 million will be expended on construction works. The first set of work is expected to be done within 12 months after works would have been started at the site in Providence. Speaking at the very important event, President Donald Ramattar pointed out the importance of developing and broadening the economy. This, he said, is a government strategic task so that Guyana can be less codependent on countries for things that can be done right here.
One of our strategic tasks was to broaden the base of our economy so that we do not become dependent on 1, 2, or 3 products as we were in the past. And this will certainly make a major contribution in the direction of broadening the economy. And that is why we have been trying our best to also lay the foundation to make Guyana attractive for investments.
Ramattar said Qualfon is a major contributor to the development of Guyana's economy, and today's sought turning signals a major step for the country in this arena. This, the president said, are all part of the efforts being made by the government of Guyana and its partners to further create an attractive investment environment. Chief Executive Officer of Qualfon, Mike Maru, said the state-of-the-art facility will address career opportunities and educational development much needed.
Our financial investment is also a commitment to Guyana, its people, and its economy, and we could only hope that Qualfon's campus will soon become a reflection of Guyana's great progress and strength. By investing in our employees, their families, and the communities of Georgetown and Providence, Qualfon has achieved employee retention rates twice those of the industry average. That means for every 2 people who decide to leave their employer with our competitors, only 1 person leaves Qualfon. That really speaks volumes about the caliber of the people and the operations here in Guyana. We're proud of that, and we're proud to tell our clients about it.
Ultimately, there will be an accredited university which will offer classes, career guidance, and a shared library, among other necessary amenities within an educational institution. Guyana is ranked number 1 on Qualfon's successors list, owing to the fact that the people of Guyana are hospitable and effective with the English language. He said Qualfon's largest market is serving customers in the United States, and Guyana understands Americans. For the evening news, Whitney Persaud.
Thanks, Whitney. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Dr. Ashney Singh says that there is a quiet revolution taking place in the country's information communication technology sector. Here are details in this story.
Finance Minister Dr. Ashney Singh has boasted that Guyana's information technology sector is rapidly growing and the country has now become a more attractive environment for investment opportunities in this regard. While the country's economy has had some setbacks owing to the sugar and rice industries, there are groups of dominating areas of growth within various sectors throughout the country. He said the information technology sector is one such and it is flourishing. Major investment opportunities coming into Guyana are as a result of this progress made, while pointing to the multi-million-dollar investment by Qualfon. The minister, while addressing Qualfon's campus sought-turning ceremony today, said this growth happened at a time when the country has been faced with major challenges on the economic frontier.
The fact that real output is growing and has continued to grow is testimony equally to their efforts, the efforts of the private sector, as it is to governmental efforts to ensure the appropriateness of our policy environment.
Dr. Singh said in addition to reporting on the results of the growth of the economy, much has been achieved with respect to diversification to the productive base of Guyana.
The overall performance of the Guyanese economy was driven almost entirely by the performance of one or two or at most three dominant sectors. In fact, not so long ago, if sugar encountered a difficult year, or rice encountered a difficult year, or bauxite encountered a difficult year, inevitably the economy as a whole would encounter difficulties. This government recognized the intrinsic vulnerability of this situation and excessive dependence on one or two or even three dominant sectors. The consequential vulnerability that it created for us and the need for us to lift ourselves out of these vulnerable circumstances.
For this reason, government embraces the resource of growth and the tremendous progress that has been achieved by its efforts to diversify much of it visual to the casual observers. Qualphon, a Mexican-based company, has 2 locations in Guyana and has created jobs for over 2,000 Guyanese and is presently embarking on a multi-million-dollar investment which will create another 6,000 jobs. This aside, hundreds will benefit from indirect jobs through construction, transportation, and service providers. For the Evening News, Whitney Prasad.
799 students and scores of teachers of the Laventure Secondary School will be relocated as a result of an early morning fire which destroyed part of the educational institution. Bisham Mohammed was at the scene and he filed this report.
The fire reportedly started about 7 hours 45 following 2 loud explosions in the home economics department of the secondary school, resulting in students and teachers scampering to safety. The explosions are suspected to have been 2 gas cylinders in the lower flat of the 2-story building. Minutes after the explosion, section of the first building, including the administrative office, library, and staff room, went up in flames. 2 fire tenders from West Rumvelt and Lenora Fire Station responded to the report, but due to the heavy traffic on the East Bank and West Coast corridors, it took them some time to meet the scene. Fire Chief Marlon Gentle told this newscast that the firefighters have managed to save 60% of the facility and believe that the fire may have been electrical, but they are also investigating the reports of the explosions. Chief Education Officer Olato Sam was at the scene and spoke with the media, highlighting some of the proposed plans to accommodate the affected students.
We were informed that around 7:30 this morning the fire was actually spotted by some individuals, and the fire service was notified. They responded promptly and were able to contain the fire to the administrative section, and as it stands, that area has been seriously affected. Our hope is that by tomorrow morning we will be able to accommodate all of the students here in some other institution nearby as a short-term stopgap measure until we're able to sort out what is possible here at this location and possibly return most, if not all of them here.
He also disclosed that from information received, no one was injured and is receiving the necessary cooperation.
In addition to that, I think it's also important that our that we know that all of our students, from the information we received, are safe. Our teachers are here and they're all cooperative, and we're getting full support from the regional administration to try to facilitate whatever stopgap measures are necessary.
An eyewitness explained that he had just dropped off his child when he saw smoke bellowing from the building, followed by huge flames. Due to the materials used to construct the building, he noted the fire spread rapidly. He also noted that it was only last week that the electrical inspectorate visited the school to address some electrical complaints. The Evening News understands that the team would have disconnected electricity supply to certain sections of the building. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
A small fire erupted at the office of the president earlier today. Samuel Supnandan has this story.
Staffers of the Accounts Department at Office of the President were forced to abandon their duties and exit the compound after a fire erupted in their department at around 15 hours 10 today. When this newscast arrived on the scene, 4 fire tenders were on site as they moved to extinguish the fire, which reports suggest started from an explosion of an air-conditioned unit. The smell of smoke emanated from the building as firefighters moved swiftly to ensure that the fire was prevented from spreading or destroying the office. The building previously housed the Natural Resources and the Environment Ministry. While staffers were tight-lipped about the issue, they were heard saying that the fire could have been prevented. According to reports, complaints were lodged with the relevant personnel at the office of the president regarding the said air-conditioned unit, which was said to have exploded, causing the fire. Staffers said that they were disappointed that no previous action was taken, even while reports were made that could have prevented such an occurrence. After 20 minutes, the firefighters wrapped up their work and left, allowing staffers to return to the office. While there were no major damages, a few articles were damaged in the process of outing the fire. Several important documents are said to have been destroyed in the process, but this is yet to be confirmed by officials of Office of the President. Reporting for the Evening News, I'm Samuel Suknandan.
Government today announced its intention to ban and phase out the use of ozone-depleting substances, which fuel some air conditioning equipment and units as part of its responsibilities to an international treaty and agreement. Here are details in this story. Guyana is now taking steps to comply with the Montreal Protocol of Vienna Convention for the protection of the ozone layer, which could see a possible ban and the phasing out of air conditioning equipment which utilizes ozone-depleting substances. Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon made the announcement today at the media conference, but said that the administration would take a two-pronged approach in terms of complying with the requirements of the treaty. The first approach targets the importers of new equipment and will seek to discourage this practice.
The cost of non-compliance would devolve on the importers. The equipment would be seized. The gas would be retained by GRA, and of course its re-export to the suppliers by the non-compliant importer would be enforced.
Meanwhile, he reported that the second part of the approach will target those persons who have air conditioning units, freezers and refrigerators that already utilize the prohibited substances. The Guyana Revenue Authority would be responsible for enforcing the legislation at ports by being on the lookout for equipment that use the ODSs and the gases themselves.
The installed equipment that is non-compliant would be subject to the phase-out process. A phase-out process that one sees over the years from now until 2040. Incremental phasing out of the offending air-conditioned equipment, and in the context of the non-production and the non-importation of ozone-depleting gases, the high costs of maintaining the installed air conditions and utilization of those gases that offend the treaty and its obligations. In essence, without international production being maintained of offending equipment and ozone depleting gases, the use of installed offending air conditioning equipment and units would over time be phased out.
Already, those who are not in compliance are being notified and brought into compliance, Dr. Luncheon says, as the education and awareness campaign continues. Research has shown that certain chemicals are destroying the ozone layer, resulting in ultraviolet radiation from the sun that can cause certain types of skin cancer, cataracts, damage to plants, and the reduction of plankton populations in the ocean's photic zone. Michael Young reporting for the Evening News. Attorney General Alan Nandlal has accused the Speaker of the National Assembly, Raphael Trotman, of condoning unconstitutionality while at the same time contributing to a situation of chaos in Guyana, as the combined opposition is being allowed to show disrespect for the supreme laws of the land. Here are details in this report. Attorney General Anil Nandlal has also heavily criticized Trotman's stewardship of the 10th Parliament, saying that he has failed miserably in curbing the excesses of what he described as the tyranny of one, and has failed to execute his mandate in a fair and constitutional manner. The Attorney General was at the time delivering a lecture at the Progressive Youth Organization's Night of Reflection, organized as part of activities to mark the entity's 61st anniversary this year. While addressing more than 150 youth at the event staged at Red House in Kingston, Nandlal said that it was important for the youth to understand what was taking place in the National Assembly and how the combined opposition political parties were being allowed to breach fundamental laws and parliamentary practices, which could see Guyana reaching a state of anarchy if the Speaker does not revisit and resile several positions he has adopted in the past, despite the counsel offered by the judiciary on several matters.
If the court tells an ordinary man that you have violated the law, we as civilized human beings and the parliamentarians would expect the man to obey the judge. Here the judge is telling the parliament, that is the institution that has actually made the law, that look, you are violating your own law. And the parliament basically tell the judge to hell with it. So that when you reach that stage, you reach to a situation that is close to a case of anarchy, where nobody have regard for anything anymore. Because if the judge has said that you are wrong, and the Speaker said that the judge is wrong, what do you do in that instance? So you have serious constitutional clashes, or clashes of fundamental constitutional institutions which are taking place. And when pillars of a nation clash like that, pillars that hold up the civility of a country clash like that, the country can collapse as a civilized country.
He said that the Speaker in any parliamentary democracy and in parliamentary systems like Guyana was expected to be the mere chairman of the proceedings and was fundamentally responsible for the maintenance of decorum, rectitude and enforcement of the standing orders of the Parliament.
In addition to that, the Speaker along with the clerk ought to be the combined agency to ensure that unconstitutional matters are not placed upon the order paper. The disputer disputes that. But in my view, a Speaker cannot be a rubber stamp for the majority. He's supposed to be a filtering process.
Asked by the audience about filing contempt proceedings against the Speaker for his reported dereliction of duty and non-compliance with the basic tenets of society, the Attorney General said that government was hoping that it would not have to be forced to go to those extremities to remedy the apparent crisis. The AG was adamant that once the Speaker continues to allow the misuse and abuse of power to take place in the Parliament, then government would have to find other effective methods within the confines of the law of implementing its executive policies. Nandlal, who himself was a former member of the Progressive Youth Organization, has also encouraged the body to rebuild its membership and to continue to play a role in vocally opposing the unconstitutionality of several acts that was taking place in the Parliament.
The solution is that the PYO has to work every single day to ensure that when elections are called, we get back the majority. And the party will be as prepared as the PYO is.
For the Evening News, Michael Young. The 14 persons who were arrested on Tuesday at Ituni in relation to the blocking of the roadway were today charged with willful obstruction of the public roadway. They appeared before Magistrate Clive Nurse at the Christiansburg Magistrates Court, and some of the men pleaded guilty and were fined $10,000. The others have been placed on $5,000 bail each and will return to court on October 2, 2013. Meanwhile, the Ghana Police Force is strongly refuting allegations made in the Kaiser News under the caption 16 persons arrested during early morning raid. The article claimed that the police ranks were dragging people out and beating them because they refused to go, and that ranks were armed with cutlasses during the police operation at Ituni on Tuesday. These statements, attributed to a source in the area, can only be constructed as aimed at besmirching the image of the Ghana Police Force, as nothing like that occurred, the police said. Meanwhile, head of the Presidential Secretariat, Dr. Roger Luncheon, lamented the damage done by the Ituni protesters.
Worse yet, the blockade interrupted transportation links and produced wide-ranging effects in many sectors of the economy in those areas. Sectors that depended on road transportation for performance.
A mechanic was on Tuesday evening gunned down in front of his home in the Eccles New Scheme, East Bank Demerara area during a confrontation with a popular city businessman. Bisham Mohammed has the details in this story.
30-year-old Kirk Davis, formerly of 26 Public Road, Bagastang and 7th Street, Eccles, East Bank Demerara, was riddled with bullets minutes after he jumped out of a white car at about 21:45 last evening. Davis reported to receive at least 11 bullets from a high-powered rifle after he was confronted by a businessman who accused him of having a relationship with his wife. The Evening News understands that the man and his cousin were at home when the businessman pulled up on his parapet in a strange car. Davis reportedly entered the car, and after spending about 10 minutes, he ran out holding his abdomen. As he exited the car, the businessman pumped a few other bullets about his body. At the home of the dead man, his brother Sean Davis explained what he knew, while noting his brother did not have enemies.
All I knew I get a phone call. I was at work. I get a phone call that my brother was shot. When I leave and I go to the hospital, I meet him lying dead. But Cork is not a person with get anybody. It's, Cork is a very, how he might see you, he trouble you, and that's it, nothing else. That's Cork.
He also explained when last he saw his brother.
Last time I see Cork was yesterday afternoon, riding on the town. It's the last time I see Cork. I don't know, see, was I think it's Monday when I buy some wood for the house. He was like, well, you don't go shine by wood for your house, that's nice. You understand? This is the last time I talked to Cork. I don't know nothing else.
The Evening News understands that the businessman was taken into police custody assisting with investigation, while his wife is also nursing gunshot wound at a city hospital. A post-mortem is scheduled for Friday. Bisham Mohammed, The Evening News.
Thanks, Bisham. Do join us after these messages for more news. You're tuned to The Evening News. Welcome back. This is The Evening News. A 52-year-old Queenstown man was sentenced to 6 weeks imprisonment for verbally abusing his employer. Joseph Singh appeared before Magistrate Sunil Scarce at the Anna Regina Magistrates Court on Wednesday, charged for verbally abusing his employer, Glandis Drakes. The act was reportedly committed on August 27, 2013. Drakes was not represented by an attorney at law. Before sentencing Singh, Magistrate Scarce asked him if he had anything to tell the court, and he said that he always respects his boss, proclaiming his innocence. Scarce told him that he had been found guilty of the offense and will spend 6 weeks in prison. Cabinet Secretary Dr. Roger Luncheon says that attempts were made to sabotage the Education Ministry and its oversight of activities which were geared at ensuring the readiness of schools ahead of the new academic year. Her details in this report. Dr. Roger Luncheon made no bones today about expressing the Cabinet's concern and condemnation of several actions which sought to sabotage the Education Ministry's plan of ensuring that all schools across the country were prepared for the new academic term. He said that schools had their drainage systems vandalized, water mains broken, while other facilities damaged just prior to Monday when they reopened their doors after the August holidays.
But I want to go further and say that they were destroyed just prior to the resumption of the 2013-2014 academic year. And as I pointed out, where the conspiracy theorists are concerned, the nexus with the attacks by the opposition in the media on the education sector, that nexus, that connection is real. And on the East Coast, and particularly in the schools, a number of them, not 1, not 10, not 15, but as many as 30 plus schools affected by this range of sabotage effort, the unkept and the actual refusal of the NDC authorities to prepare the school compounds for the commencement of classes.
Luncheon, who serves as Secretary to the Cabinet, said that the government has made a case against those elements in the opposition-manned regional democratic councils and other local government organs that refused to cooperate with the ministry in ensuring that all was well with the schools.
Consider the evidence of the unkempt schoolyards on the East Coast, particularly and specifically in the neighborhood democratic council areas controlled by the opposition. Consider the destroyed and the destruction of school facilities that greeted students on their return on Monday, the 2nd of September, the beginning of the school year. For Cabinet, a case has been made.
On Monday, thousands of students turned up to school after the August holidays to be greeted by yards and playgrounds with overgrown weed and bushes, improper drainage and sewage facilities, inadequate potable water and other facilities which were either in a state of disrepair or were non-functional. Central government says it was the responsibility of the local democratic organizations through the regional education departments to ensure that these institutions were in a state of readiness. Michael Young reporting for the Evening News. A 58-year-old father from Anna Regina housing scheme on the Essequibo Coast was jailed for 1 month for assaulting his daughter. Amar Singh appeared before Magistrate Sunil Scarce at the Anna Regina Magistrates Court today. He was charged for assault committed on his 22-year-old daughter who resides with him. According to a police report on August 17, Singh and his daughter had a heated argument when he allegedly took a piece of board and hit his daughter about her body. When asked by the magistrate if he had anything to tell the court, he said that he had just spanked his daughter. However, the young lady had visible black and blue marks on her skin. He was not represented by an attorney at law at that time. Leader of a Partnership for National Unity, David Granger, today said that it is vital for the three political parties in Guyana to build a new political culture if the country is to further progress. Sabatini Daniels has details in this report.
Speaking at an APNU press conference, leader of a Partnership for National Unity, David Granger, stated that while in talks with President Donald Ramotar, he emphasized the need for a new political culture, which is based on a form of governance that prevents gridlock in the National Assembly. Granger added that a new political culture which also encourages cordial relations and civilized dialogue among the parties is needed. He noted that it is for this reason since December 1, 2011, the three political parties initiated a tripartite process.
So when I speak of a new political culture, I speak of creating a relationship among the three parties in the National Assembly to ensure that the dialogue that takes place is for the benefit of the whole people, and we do not have these collisions and car crashes that we've had over the last 18 months.
The opposition leader stated that APNU and Alliance for Change would also like the government to set up a tripartite budget committee that the three parties can work on to meet consensus. Granger's comments come on the heels of grandstanding by his party on several issues and bills presented in the National Assembly, as well as projects initiated by the government. Sabatini Daniels reporting for the Evening News.
U.S. Embassy Deputy Chief of Mission Brian Hunt was welcomed by Home Affairs Minister Clement Rohi when they met on Tuesday at the minister's office. Minister Rohi, in welcoming the high-level official, noted that the two countries have had and still continue to have a long history of cooperation, particularly on issues of security. Rohi said Guyana has benefited a lot from various programs initiated under the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative and stated confidently that he is sure that the cooperation will continue. Meanwhile, Hunt said that he was looking forward to learning about Minister Rohi's views on various programs on which the two countries have collaborated. Working together through the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative, the U.S. and Guyana, along with other nations of the Caribbean, are combating drug trafficking and other transnational crimes that threaten regional security. Do stay with us. More news after these messages. Welcome back, you're tuned to the Evening News. Due to technical difficulties at the Good Hope Well Station, the Guyana Water Incorporated says its customers from Better to Proactin to Lusignan are experiencing low levels of service. The company said too that teams are working in the swiftest manner to restore normal service, but in the meantime, affected customers will be provided with water at reduced levels from GWI's Lusignan and Monrepo water production facilities. The Guyana Fashion Weekend Committee today partnered with the Environmental Protection Agency to include a theme of World Water Day celebrations into the Guyana Fashion Weekend activities. The 6th edition of this mega event is being hosted against the backdrop of the underlying theme as the United Nations International Year of Water Cooperation is being observed. At a press conference held at the EPA boardroom today, representatives in attendance from the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources and the EPA emphasized that the collaboration comes as a strategy to bring awareness to sustainable education while highlighting the importance of water. Meanwhile, the organizing body of the Guyana Fashion Weekend stated that in this land of many waters, it is incumbent that acknowledgement is given through fashion to the water resources while raising awareness on the potential for increased cooperation in light of the growth and demand for water access, allocation, and services. Textilia American University today rewarded the country's top students after their exemplary performances at the recently concluded CSEC and CAPE examinations. Here are details from Omar Davy Bucks.
The Textilia American University today honored CSEC top students Zemina Rashid and Yugita Pasad at an award ceremony held at the Private Sector Commission boardroom. Both of the students from Anna Regina Multilateral School in Region 2 were presented with certificates of excellence and cash incentives. The two students were awarded with the sum of $80,000 and $50,000 respectively and a certificate of honor from the university. International Relations Manager Ashok Kumar said the award comes in recognition of the students' hard work. He stated that local students also benefits from a favorable education package offered at the university.
The local students also get benefited because as a part of the social responsibility, we offer 50% scholarship for the local students when compared to what the international students are paying.
Meanwhile, the Private Sector Commission Chairman Ronald Webster added that the university has done a commendable job by honoring the students.
An incentive for their hard work, which they can use towards furthering their education and also acquiring additional books, textbooks and so on.
Zamina Rashid secured passes in 20 subjects with 18 grade 1s and 2 grade 2s, while Yugita Prasad copped the second position with 18 grade 1s. The girls revealed that they will use the reward to purchase more school books. The Texila American University operates out of Critchlow Labour College, Wolford Avenue. It offers programs in medicine, dentistry, and nursing at the bachelor's and master's degree levels. It was established here in 2010 and launched its first program in 2011.
Do join us after these messages. Your sport news is next. Welcome back. It's now time for a look at the evening news sport. I'm Michael Young. For those of you joining us at this moment, here's a look at the headlines. Top athletics coach returns from high-performance training. Race of the Champions 2 set for Sunday. And Meta Mirzorg wins the PYO's tape ball tourney. It's now time for a look at the news in detail. 2012 Olympic coach Lyndon Wilson is back in Guyana after a high-performance training program that concluded on August 31 in Brazil, and sat with this newscast in an exclusive interview to share his experience. Let's join Tristan Joseph for more details.
One of Guyana's top track and field coaches, Lyndon Wilson, recently returned from a high-performance coaching program in Brazil where he realized the true importance of sports science to the success of any athlete or team and shared his views in an exclusive interview with this newscast.
It's high performance for sports. So generally all the discipline, the Olympic disciplines were talked about. Basically what I can give here is that the way in which we should train athletes for the elite performances is more or less into the scientific ways. So these centers are based more on the scientific ways, where if an athlete have the potential, then they go through all the scientific studies to really ensure, okay, if this person is good enough to last for a year, 2 years, 10 years, and then it is now given to the coaches who will then work with the athlete, and time again you will go back to these physicians, these doctors, these scientists, and they will work to see the progress. They also can help the coaches in terms of how they would set programs for these athletes.
Through the eyes of Wilson, the only way a scientific approach towards sports might be accomplished in Guyana is if every major entity and stakeholder comes to a consensus on the way forward.
Our first common goal should be preparing athletes to compete and not to participate. And when I say the two word varies, participate is just sending people to show that we had people at the Olympic. But to compete is to compete at the level and the highest level. That should be our first common goal. And the only way we can achieve that is all the sporting entity coming together, including the Ministry of Education, including the Ministry of Sports, including the Ministry of Culture, because sports have gone so far into culture. Well, those two entities are the same, sports and culture, including the National Sports Council, the GOA, the Athletic Association, the football fraternity. Everybody need to come together with one common goal.
The 2012 Olympic coach does believe that Guyana can implement such scientific systems once the right talents are groomed.
It can. They're a country there without centers, but they're still doing high performance training. We have trained people. We train a lot of doctors, physicians in Cuba. While you're working at the government hospital, I think these people can come together. Once you identify people with a talent, they can come together and they can bring their thoughts together and help the coaches with carrying these athletes forward.
Wilson, who is the head coach for the Police Sports Club, also weighed in on the way in which the financial aspect of such an approach can be taken care of for the athletes.
Basically, all these high performance centers, yes, athletes passing through, they have to spend money. But who are funding this money? They come from the National Association, they come from the Ministry of Sports, they come from, if they have a sports council, and they fit in. And that's why I say everybody have to come together. They will then fit in the various areas because we're going with one common goal. We see these 10 athletes and they can bring out of these 10 athletes, we can realize 4 medals at 2024 Olympic. Then that is what we have to work for.
With the knowledge that Wilson has attained, various coaches and athletes will be able to benefit from the Olympic coach who indicated his willingness to share the knowledge.
The first thing I want to do is to talk with coaches, sensitize them, let them know. And there are a few athletes who I myself have identified who I think can put Guyana on the map sometime because they're young. I need not call name here right now, but they're young, they can put Guyana on the map, but it's the way in which we develop them. So we can, once the coaches, and I don't think we should ask for the coaches' consent. From the time I identify those athletes, the coaches to say readily, let the athlete and the coaches come together. We go and I keep a little seminar with them, let them know, understand what is going on.
Guyana will now be able to benefit from Wilson's experience in hopes of landing a medal at the 2016 Olympics in Brazil.
Thanks, Tristan. Local motor racers will hit the South Dakota circuit on Sunday when the Guyana Motor Racing and Sports Club stages its second race of the Champions event. The GMR and SC and the competitors have agreed to host the meet following the cancellation of the Barbados leg of the Caribbean Motor Racing Championship. And from all indications, the organizers are gearing up to provide the same kind of excitement that it is seen at the CMRC. Avinash Ramzan reports.
The organizers are working assiduously to ensure that all the top local drivers, bikers and karters, along with those from Suriname, Canada and the USA, confirm participation for the meet. Drivers Irfan Kalamuddin, Paul Vera and Rupi Shivjatan are expected to be in show, while stalwarts such as Andrew King, Kevin Jeffrey and Mark Vera could be set to renew their battle for outright supremacy. Mark Vera drew first blood at the previous meet, but could face a determined Jeffrey, who performed creditably for Guyana the opening leg of the CMRC in Jamaica earlier this year, while King will be looking to regain his grip on the local scene, having relinquished that stranglehold to the two over the past year. When the three met in the season opener, they split the 3 races, but Vera was the most outstanding, since he added 2 second places to be voted champion driver. At that same meet, Jeffrey had broken Barbados' Roger Mayer's previous lap record with his Mitsubishi Evolution by 1/10 of a second in the time trials, which were held the previous day. However, the Group 3 category should eclipse the Group 4 for excitement and daredevilry, with Ryan Rahaman, Rupi Shivjatan, Kamal Sibaran, Raj Budu and Kem Lal all set to thrill the fans during their battle for the top podium spots. Afraz Ali and Saeed Hassan, 2 of the leading drivers in the Group 2 division and who both earned points at the CMRC, will also have to stave off the challenges of Danny Pusod and John Joseph. The Superbikes category also promises to be just as exciting as the cars, with the young brigade of Matthew Vera and Nikhil Siram expected to continue their competition, and this is in addition to the big boy scrap that should feature Stephen Vera, Carlos Rodriguez, Kwame Ridley and Kerry Griffith. The go-karts category is also built to provide excitement, and once again the young drivers are expected to take center stage, with Stanley Ming Jr. and Wayne Elliott Vera throwing down the gauntlet on veterans Marcus Fitgau and Stanley Ming Sr.
Thanks, Avinash. The Berbice Cricket Board says it has no intentions of boycotting the upcoming El Dorado Senior Intercounty 50 Overs tournament, despite rumors that the board was pursuing that course. This confirmation came from Acting Public Relations Officer Carl Moore, who further disclosed that the board will not stop any player from playing in the tournament. Moore added that the board will not hinder the future of any player, despite the differences between the board and their parent body. This year's intercounty competition is scheduled for September 21 to 29. The Progressive Youth Organization, the youth arm of the People's Progressive Party, recently concluded its T-ball competition with Metamurzorg PYO emerging as champions with a resounding 46-run win over Grove Diamonds PYO. Details from Avinash Ramzan.
In the grand final played on Sunday last on the tarmac of the National Stadium, Metamurzorg PYO representing Region 3 defeated Grove Diamond PYO representing Region 4A by 46 runs in the final. Dubbed the PYO Championship League in honor of the late political activist Walter Rodney, Metamurzorg batted first and made 100 for 4 from the allotted 10 overs. In reply, Grove Diamond PYO could only muster 54 from 9.3 overs to lose by a wide margin in the final. In the third place playoff, Chesney PYO defeated Good Hope Success PYO by 31 runs. Prior to the championship game and third place playoff, Metamurzorg had defeated Chesney in the first semi-final, while Grove Diamond had gotten the better of Good Hope Success. Andre Jagvolk, the coordinator of the tournament, explains the format of the competition.
It's a competition that started several weeks ago, played off in 6 districts, from Region 2, Region 3, Region 4A, which is the East Bank of Demerara, Region 4B, which is the East Coast of Demerara, Region 5, and Region 6. Each playoff had a qualifying team, which was split into 2 divisions of 3 teams each. They played a round-robin competition to produce 2 semi-finalists.
The T-ball competition was the first in a series of activities hosted by the PYO to mark its 61st anniversary.
Remember, you can read about these stories in tomorrow's edition of the Guyana Times. And when you're not reading the newspaper or watching TVG Channel 28, please tune in to Radio Guyana 89.3, 89.5 and 89.7 FM. Do join us after these messages. Your bridge reports are next. Welcome back. It's now time for a look at your bridge reports. The Demerara Harbour Bridge will be closed on Thursday, September 5 at 10 hours 30 for a period of 1.5 hours. The Berbice River Bridge will be closed on Thursday, September 5 at 9 hours 45 for a period of 1.5 hours. That's your Wednesday, September 4, 2013 edition of the Evening News. I'm Michael Young, thanking you very much for joining us and encouraging you to do join us tomorrow at 7 a.m. for the morning news with Samuel Supnandan. Goodbye.